TeachVid. I'll show you a TeachVid resource, which is based on exactly the same text as the one we've been looking at for the whole of this session. Here it is. Okay. Now, on TeachVid, a TeachVid resource looks like this. So you have this picture here with the open resource option there. That's how you access the resource. You've got a description of the resource. You've got options for printing out PDFs, and you've got the resource transcript. You can see it's the same transcript as the one we had in the Textivate resource. The way that, or one way that TeachVid differs from Textivate is that it's all about the caption. Let me open the resource and show you what I mean.
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur. Et j'utilise mon portable régulièrement.
Okay. I'll just stop it there a sec. So you can see that, for example, there we have that caption being read out on the video, and we have underneath the video, we have our subtitle in French, and to the right we have the parallel text in English with that section of text in English highlighted. So there's much more of a focus on the specific caption that's being worked at any one time. Okay, so sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
No, don't worry, you're doing really well. So with the captions, does it mean that the original video has to have closed captions, or can you add them afterwards? Is that how it works? You add them.
I'll quickly show you how to do that. I'll give you a very quick breakdown of how to create the resource in a minute after we look at it.
Because I'd have thought that TeachVid maybe is not as familiar with people compared to Textivate, so it might be an idea to do more like an introduction, as it were. I mean, I don't, you know, whatever people want, but I think if there's time, it would be nice to sort of break it down into step by step, as it were.
Will do. Okay, so it's all about the captions. It's all about bilingual subtitles beneath the video there, which you can switch between English and French. And here you've got the full parallel text or the full transcript that you can switch between there. And we refer to this as learn mode. When you open the resource and you're just using the video player and you're looking at the captions, this is learn mode. And then when you access the activities, that's activity mode. The captions, you can also use the captions to navigate, so you can click on any of the captions to select the bit that you want to go to, or you can use these arrows to navigate through the text to different points in the video. Okay, this is we've also got a feature called auto pause. So this button here, if you click on this and you play.
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur.
Now, what that does is it means that the video automatically pauses at the end of that caption, giving the student time to make comparisons between the French and the English in this case. And it also allows you to click into the captions, into these predefined chunks that we've set up here. Okay, and what that does, for example, if I click on this one.
Pendant mon temps libre.
So it's read out by text-to-speech built into TeachVid. It shows you the English as well.
Je passe.
Je passe, I spend. We've added a note in there to say that we're referring to time here, and for money we'd use je dépense, and so on. So it's a really nice way to, if you have the kind of studious student who's going to be prepared to spend a bit of time looking through and studying the text in this way, it's a really good way of helping students to notice differences in how the different languages are structured and how they fit together. And it's a really good way also of showing how maybe you might differ, that your translation of a sentence might differ from the way you might translate different chunks of text. So, for example, if we choose this.
Néanmoins, il faut toujours être prudent, car il est très facile de devenir accro.
So you can see that the English that we've put for il faut toujours être prudent, we've put you always have to be careful, because that's a fairly natural sounding sentence. But here, if we look at it on a chunk by chunk basis,
Il faut.
It's necessary.
Toujours.
Always.
Être prudent.
Be careful. And these chunks are, yeah, as I say, they're a really good way of showing people literal translation. So I know that a lot of people in their parallel text knowledge organizers, they like to use what they call dodgy translation or dodgy English, so that which kind of demonstrates to the student how the foreign language is structured, so that you structure the English in the same way that the French would be structured. If you get what I mean, it's like an extra clue to help the students with their translation or with their understanding of the French. And so you can choose to do that at the sentence level, or you can make the sentences look more natural, but use the literal translations in the chunks. We'll quickly look at a couple of activities. The activities are very similar to the activities on Textivate, there are fewer of them, just because it's all about the caption. So all of the activities in TeachVid are linked, just like when we were looking at the video there in Learn Mode with the auto pause turned on. They're all linked to a specific caption of the video, caption by caption. So what each activity does is it breaks down, for example, this activity.
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur.
So the activity will require the students to go through the whole text, and it breaks the text down into caption-linked mini tasks where the student has audio, so they can listen to the audio, and maybe there may be something on the video that will be of interest to them as well. They've got reference to the English translation, so they can see what it's supposed to say, and it also guides them in the structure of what they're trying to write. And they've also got context clues within the text itself, and this one requires the student to type in the answers. Beaucoup de temps.
Et j'utilise mon portable régulièrement pour envoyer des emails et j'utilise mon portable régulièrement pour envoyer des emails et pour partager des photos.
Okay, so what you have going on here within the TeachVid activities is a similar kind of thing as I was demonstrating towards the end with Textivate. You've got dictation going on, you've got listening skills, you've got word recognition, you've got sentence parsing, you've got translation from English, you've got context clues within the text reconstruction, you've got, you work towards the more difficult letters, you've got spelling, and you've got writing skills being tested as well. So there's a hell of a lot going on through the different activities.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple of questions in the chat about asking whether it's possible to create your own videos, or does it have to be a video that you find on YouTube? And can you also record your own voice as opposed to using text-to-speech? Is that possible?
Yeah, of course you can. I was too embarrassed to record my own voice.
No, it's fine. Could you give us an idea on how you would do that? And can you set up like a sequence of activities as you can with Textivate as well?
Yes. I'll watch more later. Yeah, I'll demonstrate.
No problem. I think maybe looking at the video, and yeah, so my understanding is then you find your video on YouTube, and then to add the transcript, that's something you personally do, is that right? So you can add your own text, is that right?
You can usually copy a transcript from the YouTube captions as well,
right.
Because I don't know if people realize that nearly all YouTube videos have got auto-generated captions, even if they're not been added by the video creator. And you click on the little menu option underneath the video, and it says something like access video captions, and then you can just copy them.
Right.
There is a button actually in TeachVid which allows you to try and grab those captions, but it's not been working for the last couple of weeks, so I think we may need to update the code on that. But so I'm not going to. But it says essentially, yeah, you can. I mean, I've created that video by using the Windows 10 Photos app, some photos from Pixabay, a text-to-speech generator which converts to MP3, and that's it. But you could quite easily just sit there with yourself and a microphone and read out a script. That's the simplest way to do it.
Yeah. Or take a PowerPoint and record a voiceover and export it as a video. So does it have, just be very clear then, does it have to be on YouTube even if you make your own, or can you upload it just into Textivate? I'm
afraid it does. TeachVid only works with YouTube videos.
Okay.
I know that may be a problem for some schools. Hopefully it won't be such a problem for them setting work outside class. But I knew that when I started, but I decided to go ahead anyway, because I just thought it's such a nice idea.
Yeah,
so
yeah, definitely.
People are using it, those who can use YouTube at school. Another thing I want to demonstrate quickly is
Pendant mon temps libre.
Right, I mentioned it's all about the activities. Unlike in Textivate, your activity progress is stored in TeachVid per caption. So if you leave, after each caption, you finish it, it'll record your scores up to that point. You can come out of the activity, or you can go back into it at any point.
Et j'utilise mon portable régulièrement.
Join the activity at the point where you left it. So this one, which I did before, I'm about a third of the way through.
Auparavant, je ne m'en servais pas beaucoup, mais maintenant, j'ai du mal à...
Okay, so yeah, so the progress is stored all the way, after each caption, which means that it's, from a student's point of view, it means that they don't have to worry about finishing the whole thing before they see any evidence of progress. And so here we have.
Avec les réseaux sociaux, il y a bien sûr des avantages et des inconvénients.
So this is another activity I started earlier. We're joining it about a third of the way through, and this is basically pure translation dictation. Okay, I'll quickly show you the PDFs. I'm not going to show you them all as I wanted to, but Parallel, for example, prints the transcript and the translation side by side, caption by caption. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mix up is sort of like what people refer to as tangled translation. So it takes those chunks, it alternates English chunk, English, French. So during my free time, je passe, a lot of times, and people can use this to either ask their students to write, I want you to write it all in French, or I want you to write it all in English, or both. Yeah. We've got Jigsaw Reading, so this splits the text down into a certain number of sections which you can use along with the video or after watching the video or for homework or whatever. They just have to number them in the correct order. We've got gap fill. We can have a random gap fill, which is roughly 1 in 5 words, every 5th word, and you have a word list. And we can also predefine our own gaps, so we can select words here. So I can say temps libre, ordinateur, envoyer, email, partager, photo.
That's great, isn't it? Very simple.
You just click on them, réseaux sociaux, and we can join words together like I've done there and separate them again. Imaginer, portable, nécessaire. I'm not going to carry on, but you get the idea.
No,
so,
that's fine.
And then
That's
you just
fine.
click on
That's great.
print. But you can do that. Anyone who has access to the PDFs for a resource can do that with anybody else's resource as well. So it's not just for your own resources that you define these. And there's the word list again. And once you define the words in gap fill, you can also reuse those, for example, for an initials worksheet. So if we use select words, it'll reuse those ones that we used before. If we're not happy with those and we want to remove some of them, or we want to clear the whole selection, we can do that as well. Yeah.
That's great.
So that's
so can you create sequences in the way that you can with Textivate?
Yeah. Can I?
Of course, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Go on.
So,
yeah, show us the other activities. That's fine.
I'll quickly show you creating the creation of a resource. I know that might sound like it's going to be an impossible task, but let's have a go. Copy link. I'm going to create this. I'm going to recreate this resource mostly using the video. Okay. So to do that, I'll demonstrate the process. I'm not going to pretend, obviously, that creating a resource in TeachVid is as easy as with Textivate, because as we've already established, for one, you need to have a YouTube video. And so if you haven't got a YouTube video based on the text that you want to use, then you have to create your own. I mean, that can take, it takes me a while because I'm looking for Pixabay images, because I don't want to stand there in front of the camera just reading it out, which would be a much quicker and easier option. You could do that in 2 minutes, but I want to create something that looks a bit nicer and doesn't have my voice on it, because I don't like hearing myself. But there we go. So we go to resources, and we go to my resources, and we click on create new resource, and we paste in the video URL, and we choose a language. Okay. Just waiting for YouTube to catch up.
Pendant mon temps libre,
Okay, the first thing we can do, if we have a longer video, so it's not one that you've created yourself, but it's a song or a longer piece of video, and you want to take out a few sections, or you can set the beginning and start time for the video. So if this was a half-hour video and I just wanted 5 minutes, I could move the start time and the end time to just crop the video to the bit that I wanted to use. The next thing, we have the option to enable a transcript or reading resource. If we're working on parallel text, then that's what we do want to do. If we didn't do this and clicked on next here, we'd go through to a quiz, and a quiz allows you to make an Ed puzzle type quiz, multiple choice quiz, where the video stops at the specified point and asks you a question, and the student has to click to answer the question. So I'll go back, because
so if you do enable the transcript option, it will automatically take the transcript from the video. It will work out whether the closed captions are being added. Is that what you mean?
No, it won't do that. I'll explain what I mean. So if we enable that, it means that we then have several screens, windows, which allow us to develop a transcript resource. Okay. Four steps, which if we don't want to do that, we just go straight to the quiz. So this is we're enabling a transcript resource. This is the button that did work up until very recently and it stopped working. So I need to get someone to look at the code for that and change it. But I've already got the transcript for this because we know what the text is. It's the one that we've been using all along. So just copy that in. Pendant mon temps libre, etc. Paste that in there. Okay, so that's our script, and we click on next. And the script should be set out like you'd expect any text to look. I mean, I know some people, I've seen people make resources where they just they do it with there's no capital letters, no punctuation, and it doesn't make for a nice worksheet, and it doesn't make for a nice user experience at the end. It should look like a proper text at this stage. Okay, and then you click on next, and the next stage is to define the captions. You don't want to have really long captions and some really long ones and some really short ones. There are guides on the TeachVid blog about how best to do this. A guiding factor really should be the audio. Please don't try and split it at a point where the words are going so fast that there's no way you're going to be able to define the start and end of each caption properly. So try and make it fit nicely. So I'm going to split this one. I know this is nice and slow and it's got pauses in it anyway, so I haven't got a problem with this. So I'm going to split that down into...
So when you're recording it, you'd make a natural pause, presumably, knowing where you want to put the caps.
It's good to do that, yeah, because if you're making your own, it makes it easier then to make the resource from it, because you've already thought about that in advance, yeah. So here we've got... I've now, if you see what I'm doing there to split those, so this started off as one sentence, and I've clicked there to separate it, so we've gone, and that splits that into 2 separate captions. And now we've split the whole thing into 10 captions. So as I showed you before, you can rejoin things together and you can split them at any point by clicking in between the words. Once you've defined your captions, you have to define the start and end times. So it's quite a process, but you know, a resource like this one, where you already know the translation, you already know the transcript, shouldn't take you more than say 10 minutes to make. So
pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur.
So what I'm doing there is clicking on that hold to auto advance button, and what that's doing is it's auto advancing the video, and then I release it when I'm ready to stop recording. And we want to make our captions fit nicely, so I'm going to change the start time, so we start about half a second in, and this is what that caption now sounds like.
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur.
Okay, and then once we're happy with that, we're going to the next one. And you can move these selectors as well around, you can actually move them physically. But I find the easiest way is to use this.
Et j'utilise mon portable régulièrement pour envoyer des emails et pour partager des photos.
And I don't like that 1 second pause before that, because every time the student replays it, he's having to wait for that pause as well before he starts doing the text. So if you bring it forward so it fits nice.
Néanmoins, il faut toujours être prudent, car il est très facile de devenir accro. Avec les réseaux sociaux, il y a bien sûr des avantages et des inconvénients.
Change the start of that one slightly.
Avec les réseaux...
Okay, next.
Auparavant, je ne m'en servais pas beaucoup. Mais maintenant, j'ai du mal à imaginer ma vie sans les réseaux sociaux.
I hope people can see what I'm doing there. I'm using this hold to advance, or these, you can move these selectors as well, and these start and end buttons here, so you can change the start time or the end time. Each click represents about 1/10 of a second, okay?
So essentially you're putting markers in to show where all the chunks are.
Yeah, where the captions are. So what you're defining here is the caption.
Yeah.
It's all about the caption as defined by you, and the start and end time as defined by you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Un portable est, pour moi, absolument nécessaire, car je peux faire des achats en ligne et télécharger de la musique. Avec mon portable, je peux aussi envoyer des textos à mes amis toute la journée. Mais la plupart du temps, je l'utilise comme appareil photo.
Okay, let that run out to the end.
That's great. People are saying how useful it is to see it being done live, but presumably on the TeachVid blog, you've done video tutorials, have you, for each step?
I've recently done a video tutorial for the whole creation of a resource, so you can refer to that. It's about 20 minutes long. It pauses in a few places to let me do a few bits and bobs, because it's a much longer text than the one we're using here. The next stage is optional, but it's not optional if you want to do parallel text resources. You need to have a translation for the parallel text to work. So this, fortunately, is Google Translate automated, so we can enable the translation. We can choose the language we want to translate it into, or we can click on Auto Translate to get all the translations. Now, Ordinarily, I go through all of these and make sure they say exactly what I want them to say, but we're not actually going to finish this resource. So I'm just showing you the process. So imagine we've gone through all those, made sure we're happy with all of those. The next step, can you believe it, there's another, is Caption Chunks. And chunks is optional, you don't have to do this. But what defining chunks does is it allows the multi-choice text readable activity to be based on several chunks, whereas if you don't define any chunks, all it is a one in three activity where the caption gets read and you have to choose your caption from the 3 captions that appear. By adding in chunks, it makes it so that there's much more interactions involved. And it also means that the chunks that you define at this stage are also the ones that are used for the tangled translation activity, and this also defines the chunks of the notes that appear in learn mode when you're watching the video and you're clicking into the captions so that you can see the direct translations and so on. And I'll just show you 1 or 2 of these, and then we'll abandon this and go back to something else. So if I want to break this down into meaning-based chunks, I could say, so just like as we did with the other bit, we just click between the words to separate them. If we make a mistake, we can rejoin them again, it's not a problem. So I'll use those 4 chunks in my free time. You can see what I'm doing now is I'm selecting the text. I don't have to select all of it, because as long as I select within the word, it'll grab it, and then I click on there to paste it in. I spend.
Oh, I like that. That's very nice, isn't it?
And this is where we can add in that note that I showed you before. So, for example, I said, oh, well, we want to make it clear that we don't use je passe to talk about I spend money. We use it so we can put in a note that says time. And then if we want to split our note so it appears on separate lines, we put semicolons in. So and so we can say for money, use je. And that will now appear if they click on that caption in learn mode, they'll see that information appear a lot of time on my computer. Oops.
Cool. People are loving that in the chat, Martin.
And we just work our way through this out, and j'utilise mon portable régulièrement pour renvoyer des emails et pour partager des photos, for example. And then I use my laptop regularly to send emails and share photos, and that's and to share photos. Okay, and we work our way through. We've done 2 out of the 10. There's another 8 to do, and essentially that's the last step. And once you've done that, you can add a quiz if you want to. We're not interested in a quiz for this resource. And then we go to the final stage where we give it a title, a subject, a level, a category. We've already set this student language, which was our translation language. We're going to give a description, and we can set a resource access level. So it can be public and copyable by other users. Public and not copyable, which means it shows in the resource search, but people can't copy it. It could be unlisted, which means that you can share it with other people, but it won't appear in the resource search. Or it can be private, which means only you can access the resource page. But even for a resource which is private, so only you can access the resource page, you can still set live sessions and classroom assignments based on it. Okay.
Amazing.
I'm going to abandon this resource at this point, discard the changes.
So if you wanted to add the quiz option, is that straightforward? Is it just a question of...
You choose the point where you want the question, you add the question text, you add some answers, you say which one's correct, add, that's it. It's very straightforward.
So for the questions, is it like short answer or multiple choice, or what are the question types?
Multiple choice.
Multiple choice, right, okay.
Okay, I'm going to quickly show you them, classrooms and assignments. But before I do, just something I didn't mention before. Oops, there we go. I've officially got 10 minutes left.
You can go over it, it's fine, don't worry. You'll be pleased to hear that Jocelyn had said, this is making me giddy with joy. There we are.
Okay, that's good to know. Good job, you're seated. Now, so I wanted to show you something here, which is that I talked about this.
Avec les réseaux sociaux, il y a bien sûr des avantages et des inconvénients.
Okay. Now, just as with Textivate, we've got the video and audio, we've got the English refer to, and we've got the mini task based on this section of the text, which requires some interaction from the student with context clues and whatever. But I didn't show you these 2 things here, so we don't have to use the video. We can remove the video, and then the focus is on translation. So there's no audio focus now at all. So we're combining now translation and text reconstruction and writing and context clues and so on. We can include the video and remove the text.
Avec les réseaux sociaux, il y a bien sûr des avantages et des inconvénients.
And so now our focus is on listening and dictation. Yeah. So we've changed the focus. We've still got some element of text reconstruction, memorization, all the rest of it, and writing and spelling. But now the main input for the student is the audio rather than the English text to translate. If we remove them both, we go back to the same position we were in at the beginning with Textivate, where you're creating a pure text reconstruction activity. Okay. I wanted to show you that because I wanted to show you that the same definitions can be made on classrooms when you're setting an assignment. So just like we could fine tune our activities and set parameters for our activities within sequences, we can do the same for our assignments in TeachVid. So I've gone to a classroom that I've set up for you. If you want to join this classroom, I'll put the link in the chat. Please join. There's the link, and the password is training with a capital T. Okay. I'll quickly show you how to set an assignment. It's super simple. I'll show you an assignment that uses our resource and has all of those parameters that we set before. So I'll set one that's multiple choice, just with the video as a practice, and with a pass mark of 90%.
While you're doing that, Martin, I think you sent the. Oh no, sorry, it's all right. Don't worry. Sorry, we've got the link. I thought you'd sent the link to someone privately, but the link's now been copied in the chat, so everyone's got it now. Brilliant.
Okay. Am I writing to Helen Myers privately? Maybe
I think you were, but I think the idea.
Somewhere else to write, I have to say.
Oh, does it not? If you click on the
everyone in meeting.
The name at the top, it'll say everyone in meeting.
Right. Okay.
No worries.
So the link's there, and the password is training with a capital T.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and now, so we can add more activities here. So I'll add another activity, which is a gap spell activity with video and translation, practice activity with a pass mark of 70, add activity. If we decide we want to change the order of activities, we can do that by clicking on those little arrows here that appear above it. I'll add another activity. This one's going to be a jumble activity with translation only, practice, pass mark of 70%, add activity. Next one, I'll add a space activity. We're going to make this one activity only, so it's pure text reconstruction, practice, text pass mark of 50%, add activity, and finally an assessment. I'm going to add an initials 100. Oh well, there's a lot of people on TeachVid suddenly. Oh.
Do you need an email to log in from that link? You know,
if you've already, I've asked people repeatedly to register on TeachVid. You need to register.
That's true. Yeah, you did. Fair play. You did. Yeah.
If you follow that link and you're not registered and you can't log in, it'll take you to a registration page.
There we are. Thank you.
So this one's going to be video and translation, and it's going to be an assessment, and we're going to set a pass mark again of 50%. Okay. So we have 5 activities, 4 which are practice activities and 1 which is an assessment. Next. Training assignment, some notes we can add there. There's my notes, good luck. We can set it for anything from, I think, 5 minutes to 2 months, I believe, an assignment. And we can show a resource preview, which allows us to see the resource in learn mode. So if I set the assignment, you'll see how that works.
So just to clarify on that point, after the webinar, could people still carry on having a go with the assignment? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
By all means.
Cool.
I'll leave it all available for a week or so, maybe.
Thank you.
I've got no reason to remove it. So here's the one we just created. It appears in red on mine. I don't know if it does for the students. I think it does because it's due soon. I think in fact, it's due in the next hour. So that's why it appears in red. If we click there, we can access the activities. The preview is learn mode.
Pendant mon temps libre.
Pendant mon temps libre. Je passe.
We have all the same functionality that we have from the resource page. Multi-choice. So this is the one where we have the video only.
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur.
And as you can see, I've left that activity and it's stored my progress. So if I go back into it, it'll join it at the same place. This is our gap fill activity with video and translation.
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur. Et j'utilise...
And this is a jumble activity with just translation. And this is the space activity, which is pure text reconstruction. So we've got no clues there. By the way, if you don't know, you can click on this thing here, which buys you an answer, but it affects your score massively, just like it does on Textivate.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that's a help. So if you're not sure of the instructions for an activity, it's on every activity screen. And this is the one that we set up as an assessment. You can see it's video and translation, and it's an assessment with a pass mark of 50%. It looks different. You can see it's got assessment mode on, and it's in black, so it's clear to the student.
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur.
Basically, the way that assessment mode differs from normal practice mode is that it's not waiting for you to get it right. It's just taking your first answer. So just type anything, it'll put the correct letter in. So what the student's trying to do is get the correct letter. If they get it wrong, they'll be told what it should have been. But the point is that if they just get it wrong repeatedly, they're never going to score very highly. And if you set a pass mark, they're going to fail anyway. So and then they'll have to repeat it anyway. So that's the way assessment mode works.
Fantastic. Do you have a time limit at all for that? I mean, could the students have like a second device and look up the text on Google Translate, for example?
I guess they could do. You know.
Yeah.
There's no accounting for the ingenuity of our students.
Yeah. We had a question about what would you recommend as an ideal number of activities in a sequence for TeachVid? What do you think?
I would say it would depend on the length of the text. So if you're working with a text that's like 4 minutes long and has got a lot of writing in it, then don't set them a dozen activities each one requiring them to write out the text. You need to think, I mean, as with Textivate, it's a matter of familiarization with the activities themselves. I know it would be nice if you could just say, well, I don't know anything about this, but I'll just set them an activity potluck kind of thing. But it really does help if you're familiar with the activities and how easy and hard each activity is relative to the others, and have some idea of how long it's likely to take the students to complete it. It will be, be a lot easier for you. Okay, I'm going to close that now, and I want to show you one more feature, and then we're finished. And I think I've done quite well.
I think you've done brilliantly, Martin. I think you've, considering all the questions and everything, I think you've done absolutely fantastically.
I'm just seeing who's joined. Oh, we've got quite a lot of people here then. These are all my students that have joined. Excellent. And so if I don't know if people have been doing the assignment there that we've just done now, I should be able to see some progress. Oh, wow. There's all the people. It's not looking good, people. Oh, one person's finished an activity, Simon Clark, 93%. So I can see assignment completion. So no one's completed the whole assignment. Activity completion as a percentage of all of them, is probably worked out 0% based on how many people we have there. And the average score is based on total assignment score. And if I also go to the students tab on here, I can click on the person's name and see what assignments have been set and if they've completed them and what scores they got for them and so on. I want to show you one more thing now, which is nice. It's a live session, and what this is it's a bit like the challenge on Textivate. It's a competition based on students choosing activities in any order that they want to do based on the resource that you include in the live session. And as with Textivate, the scores that you score are based on the number of interactions and the accuracy of interactions. If you have if you choose an activity that only has a total of a dozen clicks through the whole activity, because it's just clicking that chunk, clicking this chunk, clicking the next chunk, then you're not going to score very many. But if you choose an activity that's got lots of typing in it, then there's a potential for scoring many more points. So I'll quickly show you set up a live session, and people have a play. I want to see your names appear on the scoreboard. We'll use the same resource. I think, why not? I mean, yeah, why not? So this finishes in an hour's time, but we can change it. And what time is it now? Let's make it
21:32 or 22:32 if you're in Spain.
7 minutes 45 seconds to complete this. We can choose whether students only have access to each activity once. That's quite a good thing to do if you want to focus them to stay in the activity, so they don't, for example, do a couple of captions, then leave, and then go to another one, do a couple of captions and leave. If you select this option, it means that if they leave an activity, that's it, they're finished, they can't go back into it. So they've got to make sure they get most points they can from each activity. But I'll leave that out so that you can dip into the different activities. If I click now on go live, 7 minutes remaining. I hope this works because we're all in different time zones. It takes a few seconds for it to set it all up, but then you'll see the options appear. Okay?
Karine was saying in the chat this works really nicely with songs in particular that she's used it with. Yeah.
So I'll quickly show you. So I'll try and get something on the scoreboard.
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur.
Note what happens after this final click.
Et j'utilise mon portable régulièrement pour envoyer des emails et pour partager des photos.
TeachVid is all about the caption. I can't pause it, by the way, so if I could pause it to talk, I would do that, but I can't. Once we're in the activity mode, it refuses to pause. Yeah, so it's all about the caption. So after each caption, you're scoring points that appear immediately on the scoreboard. So I've only done one caption. I've scored 400 points there, it tells me already. Oh, wow. So there's people on the scoreboard. That's good to see. Okay, and this is updates every 10 seconds, roughly. So you'll see as people do the activities. So I'm in position 9 out of 13 people currently competing. I've chosen to, by default, it only shows the top 10 scores. And the students can only ever see the top 10 scores. So if they're not in the top 10, they won't see their score appear in the table, but they do see their score because that 400 that you can see there. Can you see my mouse on here?
Yeah.
Okay. So that 400 there, that's my point score so far. So even if you don't appear in the table, you can see your point score. But the teacher can see all of them by clicking on this and expanding it. Yeah. So I can see I'm right at the bottom now. It's not looking good for me. So
Pendant mon temps libre, je passe beaucoup de temps sur mon ordinateur.
Demonstrating how you can score many more points with text entry activities.
Et j'utilise mon portable régulièrement.
That should have bumped me up a bit. Come on, wait, I'm waiting for the scoreboard. Yeah, straight to the top, you see. So if you choose the text entry activities and you're accurate in what you're typing, you'll go straight to the top of the scoreboard. And that's basically all I wanted to show you. The only thing left to say, really, is that obviously, as someone has mentioned songs, the beauty of TeachVid is that, I mean, it works great with your own video that you've made based on your own parallel text knowledge organizers or whatever, but it can turn any video into a parallel text. So it turns a song into a parallel text, or a poem into a parallel text, or whatever. I mean, I'll quickly show you some examples.
So just to be clear then, with the live session, you start the live session, but the students don't need to do anything. They just goes to the link that you shared previously. Is that right?
If you set a classroom, because we just did that within a classroom, I'll quickly show you. I can also set another one. If I choose a music resource here, we've got Plus Tard by Big Flo and Ollie. And so we can set a live session directly from here. And we can also set an assignment directly from here for our classroom. Nice. So with the live session, that gives us the option to set within our classroom. If I choose to set within the classroom, it will overwrite the one that's already there and it will end the current session, which is due to end in a couple of minutes anyway. But we can also set a temporary live session, which doesn't give you the same access to student scores at the end. It only shows you an overall point score. I haven't shown you that the live session for that people are currently working on in the classroom. I'll be able to see a breakdown of interactions per activity and scores per activity and the total number of scores. Whereas on a live session, all you get to see a temporary live session, which can last for up to a week. So it's more limited, but you can make as many of these as you like. I'll also set this one to finish. Right, there you go, in 9 minutes time. We'll include everything, go live. And now what this does now, it creates something which is accessible through the live tab, the live menu option here. So exactly that, you've got all the same features going on there, all the same functionality. And this is how you access it. So if you were to click into the, if you're finished with the live session in the classroom, if you now click onto the live menu option at the top of the screen, and then you click on join classroom, and you type that code into the box, you'll join this live session and you'll be able to have points for this activity as well. So you can have several of these competitions all going on at once. You can only actually have one classroom live session going on, which gives you the full breakdown of all the scores. But this functionality, by the way, is even available to people who haven't got subscriptions, because anybody can create a temporary live session based on resources they've created themselves and based on any what we call featured resources, which are marked throughout Textivate with a gold star to show that they're available to everyone. Okay, so people have already started playing this. Okay, and so
yeah, that's great. Thank you.
It works great with music because it's this kind of thing.
Big Flo et Oli. Tu connais, non? Quand j'étais petit, je pensais qu'en louchant trop, je pouvais me bloquer les yeux.
So you see all the same things are going on. You've got your parallel English text, you've got your audio support, you've got your interaction with the L2 text and the text reconstruction, just as before.
Que les cils sur mes joues avaient le pouvoir d'exaucer les vœux.
Exaucer les vœux means to grant wishes.
Quand j'étais petit, je pensais que les...
Okay, so that's TeachVid. And
yeah, there's a lot, isn't there? There's a lot there. I had no idea you could do so many different things. It's amazing. Can we just look back at the activity type? So is there matching, for example, as well as well, that was one of the questions.
Right. Okay. Well, there is a sort of a plan. I'll go back to the resource page to show you rather than through this one.
No problem.
And
people have asked about pricing, of course. If you can maybe clarify the pricing towards the end, and is it possible to have a bundle of TeachVid and Textivate together?
No to the second one because they're separate business entities. Unfortunately, right. They're not all entirely mine. So, and they've got a bit different business, different structures, different currencies. One charges in pounds, the other charges in euros. One uses automated online payment via Braintree. One is place an order online and I send you a PayPal invoice. They're different. So unfortunately, I can't do that. But I can show you the pricing in a sec. Just to show you the activities. These are all working with the text. They're all working with the text. So these are blocks of text, the red ones. This is a gap fill without, and this is clicking. This one's spelling. This one's separating the words. This is jumbled words, so you're putting the words in order. And all the rest of them, these orange ones here are all different levels of text entry using a randomly selected 50% of the text. And these blue ones do the same thing with all of the text. There isn't any matching because because we're linking all of the activities directly to the little section of video playback. So it sort of is matching within that little time frame, but there isn't something outside of it which is just matching activities, vocab activities. Now there is a plan possibly to do that. I think we probably will do that. And that's one of the reasons why I emphasize the need for defining those chunks during the creation process, because it's those chunks that will probably end up being the main basis for matching worksheets and activities when we eventually do add them, but that won't be any time in the next couple of months.
Fantastic. It's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing, Martin. Is there anything else you wanted to show us before we sort of finish up?
I'll answer the question about
apart from the pricing, of course. Yeah, always the question people want to know. Yeah.
See, it looks from that as if a teacher is zero. The reason for that is because I'm logged in and that's the plan I'm on. So once you're already registered and subscribed, let me have a look. I'll log out. And then you should be able to see the difference. Okay, so the pricing, premium students is something that if you want your students to access Textivate, TeachVid and have full access to all of the activities for all the resources, then they can do that for $2.90 a month. So if you've got A-level students that you want to encourage them to do more listening and reading and all, more exposure to language and all the activities and so on, then they can do that. There is obviously if they're just doing it by themselves, they won't be part of a classroom, so they won't have assignments and they won't have live sessions. But they can just access any of the resource. It stores their progress. They can go back to it and look at it and so on. So it's a great way of practicing. A teacher can either pay monthly at €9.90 or yearly at $79.90. So it's quite a saving. It's about 2/3 of the price if you do it yearly rather than monthly. But obviously with monthly, you've got the option to unsubscribe for those months that you don't want to use it and then resubscribe again. You can add premium students as part of your subscription. This is not necessary, as it states here, they are optional. You would only really do that if you particularly wanted to give your students premium access. That means that beyond setting them assignments and setting them live sessions that you're in control of, you want them to have full access to all of the video activities for all the resources on TeachVid. Okay, and the pricing for that is, I think it works out 100 for 100 students, but if you choose 1,000 students, it's less. what does that work out to? About $6.50 for 1,000 students.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, that's optional. And the same applies to the school. If you want to buy a school subscription, which is 2 or more teachers, you can have anywhere between 2 and I think 50 teachers as part of a school subscription. So it's €120 for 2 teachers, but then it only goes up by about €12 per additional teacher. So if you want 10 teachers, it's nowhere near 10 times this.
Right. Yeah, because someone was asking specifically, for example, if there were 6 people in the department, how much it would be, etc.
So 6 people would pay that.
There we are.